The rifle cracked like thunder, shattering the dusk's fragile quiet. John Parker stood frozen by the lake, his breath caught as the echo rolled across the Texas pasture. He'd fired high, a warning shot into the darkening sky, but his hands trembled, not from fear, but from the ghosts that roared back with the sound. A figure stumbled back into the shadows beyond the water's edge, boots crunching gravel in retreat. John lowered the barrel, his heart hammering against his ribs. Out here, on his 200-acre ranch, trouble didn't knock. It crept in like a wolf. And tonight, it had a name. The sun was bleeding red over the lake now, painting the water in hues of fire. John Parker stood tall, a weathered silhouette in a Stetson hat and faded denim jacket, the rifle resting loose in his grip. At 54, he was a man forged by hard years, scarred from war, hollowed by divorce, and tethered to this land like it was the last piece of himself he could hold. The pastures stretched wide around him, dotted with grazing cattle, the lake a silver mirror at their heart. For a moment, he'd let the stillness settle over him. It never lasted. He'd heard the rustle first, a sharp snap in the brush that yanked him from his reverie. His soldier's instincts kicked in, hands snatching the rifle from its perch against a splintered fence post. He'd spun, squinting into the gloom, and there he was, Caleb Wheeler, stepping out like a coyote sniffing for weakness. Wiry, in his 30s, with a smirk that could curdle milk. Caleb flicked a cigarette into the grass near John's fence, the ember glowing against the dusk. He was Old Man Wheeler's nephew, the neighbor a mile east, and trouble clung to him like dust on a dry road. "Evening, Parker," Caleb drawled, hands shoved deep in a greasy leather jacket. "Heard you lost some cows last week. Shame, huh?" John's jaw tightened, a muscle twitching beneath the stubble. He straightened, the rifle steady now, its weight a comfort. "You here to gloat, or you got something worth saying?" Caleb stepped closer, too close, his breath sour with tobacco. "Just wondering if you're still fit to run this place. Big land for one old man. Maybe it's time you let it go." The air thickened, heavy with menace. John's eyes narrowed, the brown depths glinting like steel. He'd faced worse, jungles alive with gunfire, nights where death whispered close. But this was his dirt, his fight. "My land," he said, voice low and rough as gravel. "My rules. You do well to remember that." Caleb chuckled, a rattlesnake's warning, and leaned in. "Oh, I remember. But do you?" That's when John raised the rifle, not aiming, just enough to make a point. Caleb's smirk faltered, and John squeezed the trigger, upward into the sky. The shot split the silence, and Caleb staggered back, cursing under his breath. Before he could recover, a shout cut through the fading echo. "Caleb Wheeler, you leave him be." Hooves thundered closer, and Mary Ellen Carter rode up on her gray mare, her small frame rigid with purpose. At 52, she was a widow 5 years strong, blonde hair, streaked gray in a loose braid, her face lined but fierce. She ran the ranch a mile west with a grit that matched John's own. She reined in, dust swirling around her boots as she dismounted, blue eyes flashing at Caleb. "Get off his property," she snapped, stepping between them. "You've got no business here." Caleb's sneer returned, but he backed off, tipping his head mockingly. Well, Mary Ellen, sticking up for your boyfriend. Huh? Cute." He ground his cigarette into the dirt. "This ain't over, Parker." With a final glare, he slunk into the shadows, swallowed by the brush. Mary Ellen watched him go, hands on her hips, then turned to John. "You all right?" He nodded, gruff but softer now, lowering the rifle. "Fine. Just the usual." The adrenaline still buzzed in his veins, the gunshot's memory clawing at old wounds. She brushed dirt from her jeans, offering a faint smile that warmed the cooling air. "Brought you some cornbread. Figured you don't feed yourself right out here alone." She pulled a cloth-wrapped bundle from her saddlebag and held it out. John took it, their fingers brushing, a spark neither spoke of. "Thanks," he muttered, a crack of gratitude breaking through. She nodded, mounted her horse, and rode off toward her place, leaving him with her kindness and the fading hoofbeats. He carried the cornbread back to the house. A weathered single-story with peeling paint and a sagging porch. The lake gleamed in the distance, tying the land together. Inside, the kitchen was sparse. Wooden table, one chair, a sink piled with dishes he hadn't touched. He sat, unwrapping the cloth, the warm scent of cornmeal a brief comfort. He broke off a piece, savoring it, when headlights pierced the night. A pickup roared up the drive, tires spitting gravel, and the door slammed before the engine settled. Jake Parker stepped out, all city polish in a pressed shirt and boots too clean for ranch work. At 30, he was John's eldest, a Dallas engineer with his mother's sharp cheekbones and a temper that flared fast. He stormed onto the porch, fists clenched, dark hair mussed from the drive. "Dad, we need to talk," Jake said, voice tight as a coiled spring. He shoved past the screen door, uninvited. "Sarah called. She saw you with that woman today, Mary Ellen. What the hell's going on?" John set the cornbread down slow, deliberate, his chair creaking as he leaned back. The air turned thick, a storm brewing indoors. "My land, my life, Jake," he said, each word a hammer strike. "You don't get a say." Jake's eyes flashed, a younger mirror of John's fire. "You're kidding, right? You think you can play cowboy out here forever? That ranch, it's ours too. Me, Sarah, Matt, we got rights. And now you're cozying up with some widow like Mom never existed?" John stood, slow and towering, boots scraping the floor. "Your mom left 10 years ago, Jake. She's got her new life. This one's mine." He stepped closer, close enough to see the pulse in Jake's neck. "You want to talk rights?" "Yeah, You walked away from this place." Jake's face twisted, hurt and fury warring beneath. "Walked away? You pushed us out. You and your damn silence, your ghosts. None of us could breathe here." He jabbed a finger at John's chest, stopping short. "You want to throw it all away on her, fine. But we'll see about that." He turned, storming back to the truck. The engine roared, and he peeled out, leaving dust and a sting in John's gut. The old man sank into the chair, the cornbread forgotten, hands heavy on the table. Outside, crickets hummed, mocking the quiet that wasn't peace. John stared at the wall, a faded photo. Him, Linda, the kids back when smiles came easy. Jake's words clawed at him, digging up old pain. He'd faced Caleb's taunts and felt Mary Ellen's warmth, but his son's anger cut deeper. The ranch was his fortress, 200 acres of dirt and dreams he'd fought for. But tonight, it felt like the walls were cracking. He stepped onto the porch, night air cool against his skin, and looked toward the lake. A shadow moved out there, too far to make out, a trick of the light or something more. Caleb's parting shot echoed. This ain't over. Neither was Jake's. John lit a lantern, its flame casting jagged shadows, and picked up his rifle. Out here, you don't spook easy, but you don't sleep easy either.